That's the new thing. Try that.
I am so ready.
Oh, no.
Best intro ever.
We were talking about that last night. I'm going to do that from now on. That's the new way to come in. It's gonna say, are you ready to gag? There you go. You got to do that on Tuesdays as well with Frontier Scum.
Oh, you got me instantly hyped. I'm ready to go.
All right. Well, let's dive the fuck right in. We're playing deltagreen, and we haven't played it in roughly 6 years. And we're back to it. We got 2 new agents on the screen. We don't even know their names yet. I don't even know their names yet. There are black bars where their name should be. Because I told everybody here that there's something fancy on the overlay, and not a single fucking one of them actually took a look. So I'm pissed.
I have the overlay right underneath your face right now. Don't
Long
give me that.
asked a
I am
question
gagging.
when we started. Can you die in a home scene? You fucking can die in a home scene. You can tonight. If you can die in Traveler character creation, you can die in a deltagreen home scene. There you go. That's how it's going to work. But anyway, we're back. We're continuing our What Lies We Tell campaign. We're moving on to a new scenario. There are horrific tragedies at the end of the last scenario. And I look to double the amounts of tragedies that we have by the end of this scenario. And we'll see if we can. So that's like 4. So I think 4 of you would kill. Inferno will live, everyone else will die. That's basically what it is. And then he'll just start babbling incoherently for the last chapter. But here we are, ready to go. Very excited. Last time around, I'm not going to do like a full-on summary, but the last big scenario, we were in North Carolina. We started in the small town of Silo. We were dealing with some weird kind of weather scenario stuff going on. Turns out it was tied to some kind of research facility that had to do with March Technologies. Then, as you were traveling back to the coast, to coastal North Carolina, to debrief your handler, Ronnie Lightside, he fucking died. He got hit by like a fertilizer van or something. It was like a pet food van or something like that. And none of you followed up on that. She was actually the murderer. Anyhow, turns out he was living in an apartment that was haunted maybe by some sort of entity, a hag. We started referring to it as. Many other people within this apartment also was suffering from these types of haunts. You met a new agent, Agent Rita, who sadly is no longer with us, but actually was tied to Ronnie's history and tied to Vin, in fact. And over the course of the investigation, more and more you started to be haunted by shadows, started to be haunted by this old creepy woman who kept popping up in your dreams and sometimes in your real life. And then when all was said and done, there was this huge climactic moment. You went back to the building. You confronted the owner of the building, who shot herself in the face after giving some strange speech. The entire building started to burn down. You raced up to the top and tried to start getting people out of the building as best you can. Along the way, the fires kept growing and growing. You were looking for this person or that person. You had this strange confrontation with a young woman who was the girlfriend of one of the only friends that Ronnie really had. You learned that Ronnie, by the way, I bear to lead, is a freaking author, is like a award-winning author for decades of science fiction and spy thrillers. And maybe one piece of literary fiction romance called Penny's Boat that won several awards. And ultimately, the building burned down. We lost 2 agents. We lost both. I totally forget what Melissa's last agent's name was. What was your? I mean,
Fuller.
We know her for like 3 days. Agent Fuller House. That's right. I remember now. She died. Yeah, and I think she died when Didn't you die when I think it was a fire escape kind of peeled away and slammed you to the ground? Yep. And then Agent Rita died while trying to hop down to help out one of the tenants in the building, but sadly kind of fell through the floor, landed on her back inside Ronnie's apartment, her former lover, and staring up at some of his books burning, sadly passed. I think that's about it. I guess that's good enough, right? That's good enough. Okay.
That was
so
a great
sad.
session.
So
all right.
sad.
Well, everyone have a great night. Let's start gagging. All right. So. Okay. All right. Everyone calm down. Everyone calm down. All right. Black screen. Okay. Black screen. Everything goes whoosh, black. We hear the sounds of sirens. And as we start to open up, we can see in the distance a burning building, a very familiar burning building. We see the Villaggio della Sorella. In its multiple levels, we can see the fire is just absolutely and utterly tearing through it. This crumbling carcass of this apartment building, this 100-year-old apartment building. We see emergency response vehicles. Their flickering lights are kind of drowned by the orange-yellow glow of what is now this roaring in utterly uncontrollable fire. There are sounds everywhere as well, overwhelming. Sirens, screams, shouts, firefighters and EMTs and police officers. And as we're watching it from this distance, we suddenly shift upwards and over top of the entire scene, like a drone shot. Then we start to swoop down to the street level, into this massive vehicles. And we settle finally on a view. We see the back of a paramedic who is apparently working on a very heavily burned man that seems to be sitting on a gurney outside of an open ambulance. The medic is checking vitals, cutting away clothing that is kind of partially fused to skin, wrapping gauze here and there around all these different wounds, and then is kind of flashing this small light in the man's eyes. We see those eyes. The pupils and irises are this ashy gray. They're barely contrasted with each other, and there's only minimal response. But the eyes nonetheless do seem to focus. But they're not focusing on the light and its movement. They're not focusing on the medic, who's occasionally mumbling questions. But instead, they're focusing on something else, something beyond. And as the medic bends down and flips this safety hook on the gurney's legs, we finally see the face of the man. Agent Inferno. His face is covered in sweat, ash, grime, burns even. Significant. And he's staring straight ahead at our would-be camera. And his expression is unreadable. His body starts to shift a bit as the medic lifts the sides of the gurney and then slides it into the back of the ambulance. And then the medic climbs up into the back and pulls the doors closed. Through the window, we can still see Agent Inferno's face, just kind of staring out ahead through the windows in the back of the vehicle. And then the medic shouts something to the driver, and we watch the ambulance pull away. And we kind of just stay there for a moment. We don't follow the van. Because in the empty space left by the ambulance, we see damp asphalt. We watch as dozens of rivulets of water from a half dozen nearby fire hoses and hydrants start snaking from every direction to this circular pothole that previously sat beneath the vehicle. And we watch as the pothole fills with this dark, oily water, sloshing, swirling. And then we slowly start to creep towards the pothole as more and more water starts funneling in from all these different directions. And then for the briefest of moments, we see a reflection in the water of a very large creature, perhaps a bird, taking flight, wings spread wide until it disappears from our frame. The water, which we are now directly over top, starts to tremble, but not because of a quake or the reverberations of some nearby impact. No, it's because something sinuous and oily is writhing just below the surface of that water. And right as the water begins to part and reveal what's beneath it, we cut to black. We see on the middle of the screen, 3 months later. Where do we find Agent Inferno, Long?
He is recovering from burns, getting bandages replaced. Very 3rd degree, pretty deep. Still healing. And he's focused just on recovering, getting his movement back, getting his body back to move the right way. Physical therapy.
Is he back in New Jersey at this point?
Yeah, back in Jersey, back home.
Okay. And so did we actually see him like physically going through like the therapy? He was the hero, we could say, of the party, of the cell, as he physically carried Vin at one point while blinded by this strange impact, this strange like magic or whatever it might have been. And you physically carried Vin down. You were constantly getting pelted with ash and fire and smoke inhalation. You probably even have developed something of a like kind of an asthmatic response in some ways. But you can see there's patches of your face, patches of your arm, and you can see there's like skin grafts here and there and discoloration. It's all still recovering. You probably even have a handful of like 3rd degree burns, like very significant burns. So it's been about 3 months or so. You've been going in and out, and you've returned to Jersey. You haven't been activated in that time. You have been notified, and that's not necessarily uncommon, especially after a situation like you were in with significant loss, significant health concerns. So what have you been pursuing in this handful of months following your previous operation? We're going to do home pursuits.
Yeah, I'm going to do improved stats. So I've been focusing on my mind, really trying to keep it home, keep it driven down. So improving my power if possible.
Okay, so you're going to focus on your improving skills or stats. Is that what it is? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so by training or studying extensively, your agent can try to boost any 2 separate skills or stats, or 1 stat and 1 skill. You get to describe what your agent is doing to improve the stat or skill. So examples like taking night glasses for int, or lifting weights for strength, or meditating to strengthen self-discipline for POW, and that kind of stuff. So what is it you're doing? You said you're doing something with your mind.
Yeah, it's a lot of self-reflecting because I can't really move much. So I'm literally just sitting around thinking to myself, thinking of the events that happened.
Is your family around, or is it just you like on your own?
I haven't visited family yet, so it's more focused on myself.
Okay, so you're kind of got your own apartment by yourself, because you were sharing an apartment with your brother for a little while, but are you on your own now? Are you got your own place?
Yeah, I'm just early on, as I'm recovering, I'm be by myself.
Okay. So is it your pal that you're trying to improve here?
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead, and as we get this little like kind of montage shot of like you maybe reading a self-help book every now and then, waking up in the morning, meditating like on your your balcony out back or whatever it might be. We need to go ahead and you're going to attempt a test, stat times 5, and then how you do. Let me know how you do, and then we'll figure that out in a sec.
So I actually passed it, 43 under 45.
Okay, so you needed to fail to get the big increase. But if you, let's see. So I think it's, you attempt a test of the stat times 5 or the skill. If the test fails, you add 1 point to the stat. 1 point. So it looks like since you passed, you don't get
5% boost.
Or that's only if you're doing a skill. Like you're doing a stat, right?
Oh yeah, I don't get anything in my best. Okay.
Yeah, but you do get a second. You do get to do a second thing though. So you get to do 2. Remember? So it's stat. You get to do either 2 stats or 1 stat and 1 skill or something like that. So you get a second thing to do.
Okay.
So what is the second thing?
I can do another stat, right?
I think so. Yeah, any 2 separate skills or stats. It's got to be something different though. You can't do POW.
Okay, let's do Constitution.
Okay, so what does it look like then when Agent Inferno is trying to increase his Constitution?
This will be trying to get the runs going again. See if I can keep my breath, like running.
Getting the runs means something entirely different to me. And then he's like, I want to keep myself runny. Like,
Oh,
there are a
When he
lot of
said he was
things
trying
wrong
to-
with how he's.
When he said he was trying to improve constitution, I imagined like he was having a whole bunch of like protein powder and vitamins.
Yeah.
And then he said, I'm trying to get the runs. And I'm like, yeah, that kind of
Get the
goes with.
runs. Okay. All right. So we see a patched, wounded, skin graft Agent Inferno. Are you running on the street, or are you finding like these little trails?
Yeah, running along parks.
Okay. So we see like kind of finding these little patches of nature, these little parks and such in Jersey. Maybe it's along the shore, maybe it's not along the shore, but you're finding places where you can kind of decompress a little bit to some degree and focus on just as best you can get clean air in Jersey. It's probably not that easy for you either, since you have suffered so much, like just during that whole escape from the Villaggio della Sorella, like the amount of smoke inhalation, like you've probably gotten some tests done here and there, troubles with your lungs, things lingering, some respiratory troubles here and there. So it's probably even harder than you might think. So con, huh? So go ahead and give us the contest. Con times 5.
All right, I need under 65.
Mm-hmm. You want to fail.
Pass
You want to go
Yeah, I passed
over.
again.
I'm
I'm
go
just too good.
over. Okay. All right. So basically what we see is, so why do we think things don't improve for you? Like, is it just because of the injuries that you suffered, or is it just like a lack of focus, or do you get distracted? Like, what do you think kind of causes Inferno's attempts to sort of settle his mind and improve his body? Why does that kind of go sideways on him?
He focuses on how many groups he's been in.
Mm-hmm.
Not even deltagreen, like in his past work as DEA.
Mm-hmm.
Something goes awry, like his partners like get injured. Those come to mind. It's like maybe it's his fault that this keeps happening.
You've got Hypoluxo, where one of your partners was killed, the other one severely injured and kind of gone mad. In Brooklyn, when you were still with the DEA, you neglected to show up to various stakeouts and various bust attempts and stuff, leaving some of them out to dry, and injuries, perhaps. Maybe someone got hurt in the process. Maybe someone got killed in the process, like a raid that you were supposed to be there for, or maybe information you were passed along didn't make it there. And then across the cell, we've seen multiple deaths, right? We've seen multiple deaths from Silo and from Brooklyn. Okay. And maybe it's like that whole idea of like both things you're doing, whether it's running or like meditating, both of them like require, or like they gift you this like time where your mind is sort of, it's easy to sort of focus too much on the thoughts running through your head, and you're just not distracting yourself enough. Okay. So as we fade out of Inferno, who is maybe just like hands on knees, bent over, wheezing a bit on the sides of a dirty Jersey beach, waves crashing in, going out, crashing in, going out. We're going to cut over nearby, I think, maybe. Where do we find Lisa Weaver? Where do we find Agent Weaver? Is she in New York? Is she in Long Island? Or is she somewhere else?
She's back in back home, which I believe was
Florida?
Florida, yeah.
Florida?
Mhm.
Okay, so she went back to Florida. Okay, got
Yeah.
Jamie with her.
Yep. So she's been having quite a rough time. So ever since returning home from Wilmington, things have been strained. She's kind of been spiraling. She's lost so many people, from her mentor to Agent Ray to Agent Fuller, who saved her life, who ripped her out of that burning building, and together they laid hand in hand on that fire escape building. And she's not even really too sure how exactly she got out. She was later informed it was Luca Dante, or Agent Inferno, who carried her down. And she's kind of haunted by nightmares. She often feels like a tingling in her right hand where she held hands with Agent Fuller. And she can just feel how hard they like held each other's hands, because they were both terrified but also resigned. Like there was nothing else that they could do. And sleep has been difficult, so her behavior at home has been very similar to when she was using. So Cody thinks that she's using drugs again, her boyfriend. So
Still with him. That relationship has survived. Okay.
Not really.
Okay.
So when she first gets home, that's when her life kind of blows up. Cody tells her that he still loves her, but he can't live with her anymore, especially if she's using again. He didn't find anything, but just her erratic behavior and leaving for missions has left her again. Like he set stipulations. She needs to attend her NA meetings to prove that she's sober and she's keeping up with it. She needs to get a new job, and they need to go to couples therapy together. So she's moved.
2009, he was thinking of proposing to you. He came out to Long Island, to your aunt's place, with this intention of surprising you. You kind of sussed that out and kind of steered him away from doing so. And then he came home to Florida. We haven't really checked in with that in a while. It's now almost 3 years later, right? And actually, wait, no, it's 4 years later. So have you been together this whole time? Did he ever pop the question? Like, has it been on and off again in that window? What's it been like?
So he popped the question, and Lisa did accept, but they stayed engaged, and it was a long engagement. And then when she kept getting called in on missions for deltagreen, it always also tended to conflict with times that they were possibly planning to go cake tasting or, pick a venue or actually set a date. And she's constantly pushing it off until eventually her behavior got erratic again, and he presumed she was using. And so he took the ring back. He did. So they're no longer engaged.
But they still see each other in some capacity. Has Cody developed any kind of relationship with Jamie in that time? Because it was 2011. I just double checked. It was 2011. That was Brooklyn. So it's been effectively 2+ years since he didn't propose in the Brooklyn scenario, but then in the time he's tried, things have gone well. Has he developed maybe a relationship with Jamie, and that's why he keeps checking back in, or is it a relationship with you?
No, it's definitely at this point, Lisa knows that she fucked up. She knows she had a good thing, and even if it wasn't necessarily what she wanted, he was good for Jamie. And so he's stepped up, and he's still there for Jamie. Like, he'll pick her up and take her to school events and stuff like that. He's still really involved in her life. And it hurts extra because when they were engaged, one of the big events that they had going on in their lives was they were planning how he could adopt Jamie. And in doing so, that kind of fell out of things. So Lisa had done separately gone, and she has written her own will. And kind of within the will, she has listed details of how she does want Jamie to be cared for in case she passes, and she does wish for her to go to Cody over her Aunt Viv.
Okay, and you've actually taken steps to identify him as that?
Yeah, she has, and she hasn't told Cody this yet, but it's because I don't know if he has to be notified when it's listed.
Yeah, I'm not sure,
but
yeah, I think you can just write it in and you tell him at some point. But
Melissa and I were notified for that with my nephews, so I think I think it was like an after the fact, like, here's the plan is. Say, well, this is what we're doing.
Because that was what my parents did with me for my siblings. So they told me after.
Okay.
So,
well, we'll say whatever the legal steps are, you take them, and as much as you can keep him in the dark, you do. And then I guess the other question is about Jamie. So Jamie, at this point, I think she was about 8 or 9 in Hypoluxo, which was 2009. We're at around 2013 now, so she's hitting teenager.
She is.
How's that going?
Oh, she hates me.
Okay.
There's a lot of resentment for not being around enough, not being a good mom like her friends' moms, because she's at the age now where she's hanging out at her friends' houses, and she's kind of realizing how shitty her life has been, like, compared to her friends, in the sense of, like, she doesn't have two parents anymore. She, really had to struggle to get things growing up as a kid, and and her mom was really like in and out. And
do we think so whenever Weaver was going off on cases, so including Silo, and maybe if you've gone and gotten called on any others in the interim, does she stay with Cody since you're in Florida?
She stays with Cody, and she also stays with, depending, her best friend Millie Dobbs. Okay. So she kind of like flips between the two.
All right. Well, let's dive in. So in the months following the tragedy of Wilmington, Ronnie died, who, like you said, was very much, he kind of took you under his wing. He kept you out of prison at one point. You would have been in prison for a couple of years. And while you didn't know Fuller all that well, like you said, she saved your life. She literally saved your life, right? So what have you been doing? What's your pursuit? What have you decided to do?
So Lisa is the type of person to where if she allows herself to wallow, she will spiral. She will go on that horse, and she'll do something that she'll regret, like whether it's drugs or quitting her job and just laying there and watching TV for months until, she gets kicked out of her apartment. So she has been attempting to stay busy and kind of meet the terms that Cody has set for her. So she's been taking cosmetology courses in an attempt to improve her disguise stat. And get a new stats. And get a new job.
Is Cody under that impression that you're going to go into nails and makeup and such, like you're finally kind of settling down and in this sort of wanderlust maybe that you've demonstrated? Is he getting that feel? Do you think he's hopeful that this might be a sign?
He's hopeful, but also he has some realism in him, and he's waiting to see if this actually pans out or if this is just another one of Lisa's flights of fancy kind of thing.
Yeah, on the surface, if we start walking back through Lisa's life, it's been pretty screwed over by deltagreen from the get-go, right? For a while, she works as a grocery store clerk in Hypoluxo when she had to bring her and Jamie to the shelter, right? The horrific things she saw, including in the kitchen, including seeing a naval veteran die in the process,
including stabbing a man.
And stabbed a man. Didn't kill him, but you stabbed him, right?
She thought she killed him though for a long time.
But you intended to. You had every intent to do it. Then you kind of get wrapped up in this, and then you get wrapped up in this this training program to kind of grease the wheels to get you into FEMA, a real career. But then it kind of becomes clear that they did that really just to put you into a place where you had access to report back information that they wanted, right? The program wanted. Yep. And then you lose that job, and you get caught impersonating a federal agent. And if not for Ronnie pulling major strings, so it's been a rough few years. And so I would say probably to somebody not in the know, they've seen you move, they've seen your mother pass, they've seen we've seen you lose your job multiple times, right? So
to make it worse, she had lied to her aunt and said, because that's what she was on before she got her grocery job, was she was in trouble for doing drugs and shit.
Way back when she was an NPC.
Yeah. But to make it worse, she lied to her aunt and said she's trying to get transferred there to live with her so they can be a better family. And then she got caught. Yeah. Well, no, because she almost went to jail.
Exactly.
So then her aunt had to witness her, go through this trial period, and just the amount of disappointment that her whole family, what little bits of it she has left, is enormous.
You have fallen very far from Viv's sister's tree, is probably, we all know Aunt Viv. She probably does not think very well of your actions. Yeah.
No, she's kind of drowning in the guilt.
Okay, so you've been taking these cosmetology classes. So go ahead, and you're trying to improve your disguise. Go ahead and give that a roll. So it's just attempt it.
Crit fail.
Crit fail. So don't know if there's a specifics to crit failing. It's normally it'd be 3d6 percentage points. I'll tell you what.
If the test fails, add 3d6 percentage point.
It's 3d6, but you crit fail, which is really bad. Here's what I'll say. Roll 60. Hang on. Let me do some math. Roll 5d6 and take the 3 best rolls.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yes.
That's just something I'm making.
So I get 16.
Okay. You, in the night course that you take at community college in Florida, and I know probably you're going to Palm Beach Community College. Actually, no, probably not Palm Beach Community College. I think they converted
Some
that
community
to an actual
college
school. Maybe you're taking courses at Florida Atlantic. They're sort of adult ed courses as opposed to community college. But maybe you're there. You're at Florida Atlantic. You're taking some night courses. Periodically, as you are on the campus, you maybe go to an event or two at like the student union, or maybe you kind of meet in some of these larger venues on campus, and maybe you do like these events where you go into the public union and do people's nails or hair for free. And it's then that you see like various like halls and decoration on the walls of the union or some other public places, well-known alumni, former faculty. And lo and behold, you almost trip over yourself as you see the face of Declan G.W. Ellis, former faculty at Florida Atlantic University. Now,
Oh my gosh,
they
that's
love
right.
him. They love him here, and they talk about him. You could see his picture everywhere, especially around the bookstore, as he has been nothing but an absolute success. And you see him over and over and over again. It's just constant reminder. And he's still writing. Like, there's people talking about a new book. He's coming out with a new book. There's a new Storm Surge novel coming out. All of this is popping up, and you keep seeing his face. Once or twice, maybe you check the phone, which probably got damaged in the fire to some degree if you brought it with you. But you've never, in the months following the events in Wilmington, ever heard back from G.W. Ellis. Never called. At a certain point, you started to call that number, and it was disconnected. Okay. And then you get a second one. So that was one. What's your second?
My second one is so when we were in the fire, she made that she attempted to rip the things off the window, the boarded up window, and her strength was atrocious. And so that's something that really stuck with her, was that she's not strong enough to do what needs to be done to protect these people that she's with. And it always comes back to, like, what if she needed to do something like this to save Jamie? Like, she needs to improve. She needs to be better. And so she started doing weightlifting courses, probably just at the campus as well.
Oh, I'm sure.
Just seeking to just bulk up.
You probably get a discount for being a student there, because that's how it is at my college. So I presume it's like that at every college. Okay. Okay, excellent. So just straight up strength?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, strength times 5. So give us that roll. As we see a montage of Weaver just getting swole. Getting swole. Did you pass?
No, I did. Or yeah, I did pass.
Okay. Passing is bad. You want to fail. And so in this case, like, you certainly get like some definition, you get shape, you probably feel better, you probably look better, but in terms of like actual strength growth, it's just not quite what you wanted. Between having to study, take these tests, going through the practice and the process of cosmetology, trying to be a good mother to Jamie, who is trying to be a bad daughter to you, as all teenagers do, and then the nagging of Cody here and there, even though it's good natured, going to your meetings, all of these things, and then maybe every now and then,
she still wakes up with nightmares of the events of the nightmares that she had while she was there in Wilmington. And so she's
I'll tell you, there are specific images that probably plague your nightmares over and over again. There's images of a woman who's got this kind of dark, greasy hair, and every time you see it in the night, whether it's in your dreams or whether if you like wake up and look down the hall before you switch on the lights, maybe you see the silhouettes of a a woman with kind of this dark, greasy hair. And then as it slowly peels away, you see half a face. You recognize half of that face as Agent Aggie from your time in Brooklyn. Other times you wake up and you have the smell of smoke in your nose. And you think for a moment maybe the apartment's on fire. You move around, hustle here and there, but you find no evidence of it. But nonetheless, that smoke just kind of tingles. And there are other times in which you're driving and you look into the mirror and you do a quick little start. As just for the briefest of moments, you just see the face of any of the many people who have passed in your time. And just kind of pop up there. And every time you see them, their face kind of contorts into this evil grin. A cackle begins, and then you hear a honk of a horn, and you realize the light is green and you're supposed to go. Okay. We're going to cut over then to Agent Vincent Price. In the months following Wilmington, the death of your former co-agent, you worked with him on a team. I don't know if you call him friend or not, but you've definitely known him as long as anybody, longer than anybody that's still living, unfortunately. So what have you been doing in these months, having barely survived, having would have died if not for Agent Inferno, in fact?
Yeah, so calling Ronnie a friend might have been a stretch because Ronnie was so reclusive.
Sure,
but he was definitely sorry, my dog just hit my screen. He was definitely a mentor and a huge impact on Vin. It was someone that Vin looked up to and tried to emulate in his life. I think he met Ronnie fairly early on in his career, in Vin's career. So it was someone that he kind of aspired towards. Vin's life, however, has taken quite the turn since the last case. When we last saw Vin, he had moved to Florida to be closer with his son because his son was going to college down there. Now Vin is in McLean, Virginia. He's moved back to where he has probably lived the longest. He's always been a bit of a nomad, but he has sort of ended his retirement. He is taking odd jobs as a consultant for the CIA again. So that's why he's in Virginia, to be closer to Langley. Just getting back in the groove. He still has plenty of contacts there. His partner Edie had never left the CIA. The only reason Vin retired was to try and repair the relationship with his son, which he is somewhat abandoned now. Like, his son was off to college, he was growing up already, and Vin felt like a bit hopeless. Like, it was too hard to connect with him anymore, so why try?
How old
so he went
would
back
Chris be at this point? Because it's about 2013 going on 2014.
Yeah, so Chris was like 2021, so he's probably graduated by now.
Okay, so he's off, flowed the nest and everything. Okay.
Yeah. So he I don't know, I haven't actually decided where Chris ended up, but Vin did not follow him again, like he had before.
Give me a luck test.
Okay. That is a 90.
Straight 50. 90. Okay, so that's the worst outcome. So let me ask you a question. Would Vin think that Chris following in his footsteps of like law enforcement would be a good thing or a bad thing?
Would Chris following in his footsteps be a good thing?
Would he consider that a good thing, like going into law or starting to, like, maybe, you know, either whether it's becoming a cop or FBI agent, something like that? Would that be a good thing or a bad thing, do you think?
I think Vin would be disapproving of Chris no matter what. Chris started looking for a creative degree, some sort of liberal arts. And Vin very much disapproved of that, saying you're never going to find a job. So it would make sense that Chris would like ping pong the other way with the disapproval of his father, and then Vin would be like, no, this was a bad job. Why on earth are you doing this? This would be the wrong thing. I think he would say it'd be a bad thing to follow his footsteps.
Yeah, so maybe at some point you get like an email. It's not a phone call, it's an email. And it's from your son. And it kind of gets the usual like, hey, Dad, I know we haven't talked in a little while. I know that you probably are going to want to say I told you so, so I'm just going to say it for you. You told me so. You're not wrong. The English degree definitely didn't lead to good employment. So I'm rethinking things. I'm thinking law school maybe, or I'm studying for LSATs, but I'm also thinking, I mean, you could see like there's like a lot of like ... dots, and eventually he reveals like he's thinking about, kind of studying to become like a cop, and he's just like, and I know like you just hoping maybe you can give me some sort of tips or tricks, or if there's like, anyone you might know, and he kind of gives you like the specific locale, like where he's going to be, like anything like that. I could sure use your help.
I think when we first show Vinland, it would be him on his cell phone calling Chris, likely going straight to voicemail, and him leaving a message. Hey, Chris, it's your pops. Yeah, you want a tip for being a cop? Well, tip number 1, don't do that. That's not going to work out well for you at all. Why on earth would you want to be shot at? Yeah. I suppose I can call some people, try to see what I can do for you. Are you going back for another degree? Like you're going to add loans on top of you're just throwing more money after the... Anyways, yeah, I'll help you however you need. I've always got your back. Love you. And then click goodbye.
Okay. All right. You do not get a reply particularly quickly. And so some time will pass. And in that time, what are you doing? What is Price doing to bide his time? And this, like, what is he occupying his days with? What's his pursuit?
Yeah. His closest friend would be his ex-partner in the CIA, Edie. She's still in the CIA, and she's moved to more of an office role. They used to be field agents together, but now she's also just working out of Langley. So he spends most of his time going to the local VFW in McLean, and it's kind of like a hidden hangout for government army vets. Like most people who are vets at this particular VFW have worked for the government in some capacity outside of the armed forces. So it's kind of like his, I'm calling it his therapy, is that he goes routinely 2-3 times a week, and they all tell stories together, and they all work through whatever demons they have together. Okay. So I'm calling this his go to therapy, and he's definitely not being honest. Like he's not talking about the supernatural and things like that.
Before we do the roll, a couple questions for you. Was Vin in like Desert Storm?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Like lining up,
trying to figure out a way that he would actually get access to the VFW. So you're probably
he definitely was a soldier.
Okay.
He was a Marine.
Okay, so there's probably like the bulk of the people you're seeing there are probably that era, your age group, but there's probably still some vets of like Korea or Vietnam that are probably still kind of there. They're sort of the patriarchs of the place. And then you might even have some younger folks that are starting to show up here and there from like Afghanistan and the Iraq War, early 2000s and such. Okay, so we're doing go to therapy. So, and you said you're lying.
Yes, he would not be talking about the supernatural things. He'd be very loosely talking, just like vaguely talking about, a good friend of his who, he never came back from the war. That type of thing is like how he would refer to Ronnie.
When you go, so when you go to therapy, you have to reduce a bond by 1. So is that Chris? Maybe you get like, we actually see.
Yeah, it's definitely Chris.
We see a scene of you going into the VFW. You feel the buzz of your phone. You pull it out. You see it's Chris. You see the picture of Chris, and you could take it. You could step right out onto the street and just take it.
He was already walking in. So he would just click the button, not go to voicemail, but just silence the ringer and just let it ring out.
Okay. So it requires a luck roll or of a roll of the therapist's psychotherapy skill. Since we're reflavoring it, they don't really have a psychotherapy skill, so let's just do a luck roll.
Yeah, that's fair. Shit. 87.
Okay, so you specifically says you're not telling the therapist the truth. Your healing is limited. If your luck roll fails, you gain no sand. And I think that's it, right? Yeah. I think that's pretty
Yeah,
much
that's right
it
to me.
Yeah. And like maybe what it comes down to, I remember distinctly, I'm not a veteran myself, but I remember distinctly going to the VFW with my dad. Dad was in Vietnam. And I remember this is back in the 90s. And I remember like sitting through these breakfasts with some like old World War II vets and stuff. And like they would kind of rag on him a little bit, like because like, oh, what are Vietnam people? Because we're like World War II looking down kind of on Vietnam and in that kind of way. And I'm gonna say like maybe that's kind of what happens here. Is like you're kind of trying to work through it and making these complaints, talking about this and that, and you got these old guys, these guys who like tell you these horror stories about Korea or about Vietnam, and like you're here, like what do you know? Like, what do you know? Like you don't know the half of it. Like are you kidding me? Like I didn't even want to go. We got drafted into it. They forced us. They dragged us away, and then when we came home, they spit on us. Stuff like that. And so it's probably not as healing, and maybe it's even hardening you a little bit more and making it harder for you to be a present father.
Yeah, and Vin has been in those types of social situations most of his adult life. So like he's used to like people, the guys always ragging on each other and stuff like that, and everyone trying to say that their experience was worse than this, one up, and he would just kind of like stuff it down and ignore it, and he would make his jokes when he gets the chance, but it's definitely more putting his head in the sand at this point than actually confronting things.
Okay, so we're gonna fade out of there. We're gonna jump back to Inferno. We're gonna say some time has passed, more time. We're now in 2014. You can see the calendar is kind of ticking and ticking. The pages are coming off of it, and it's early too that we see the proverbial fireworks in the sky, the clink of champagne glasses. New Year's come and gone, maybe even Valentine's Day, and it's early 2014. So at this point, a lot of your wounds have healed. There's definitely a lot of scarring left over. You're probably not as pretty a man as you were when you started the campaign. You're certainly older, worn down, but physically even, the scars now have started to compile. But you're probably looking a little bit better. Your respiratory issues have probably lightened up. You still find yourself, whenever you are expending a great deal of effort, you still find yourself occasionally drifting off into a cough. But for the most part, your body is starting to get back to what you once knew it as. Maybe your hands, like you can still feel the tightness of the skin, where the burns just kind of linger. Maybe you feel like a dullness. The nerves don't quite come back at one portion on your face where you suffered flame. But you're in a lot better shape than you were several months back. So what do we see Inferno doing for his second home pursuit in this time?
Yeah, first we see a big red sign, Narion's Pizza. The A's replaced with pizza slices. And we go into the restaurant. He's tossing some pizza. You see him, he's got a nice buzz cut now. His long curls are gone. You can still see the remaining scars. His mustache is kind of growing in. It's a bit tougher now since the burns are there. And he's gotten back to the pizzeria. He's rejoined them, rekindled with his family. He's making pizza.
I'm going to say that it's springtime, if that's okay with you, like March, April. And you, as you're sitting there, you're making pizza, you're getting back into it. Family has supported you throughout your process. Like when your mother saw what happened to you, she was like, she absolutely lost her mind. But over time, obviously, she's been there for you left and right. But at a certain point, sometime in late March, as you're kind of getting, it's early, you're just opening up, so it's like lunchtime, but no one really comes in and stays in the restaurant maybe that long during the middle of the week. for lunch. But you're there. Your mother's there. Maybe your father's there. It's up to you. You see a man walk in, and he is short, maybe 5'6" or so, 5'7", balding with a little bit of gray around his temples, clean shaven. And you can tell he's got a kind of a second chin. He's a little doughy. And he's wearing a short sleeve button down dress shirt with a tie, carrying a briefcase. And he's got pleated pants on. What's your mom's name again? I'm sorry. Can you remind me?
Maria.
Okay. And so he comes up to the register. Maybe you're by the counter. He's like, "Excuse me, I have an appointment to meet with Maria Dante. Is she available?"
Oh, so yes. She's out back. I can get her.
And you go fetch your mother, who's like maybe back in the office in the kitchen somewhere, and you take her, and she's like, oh God. And you can see she's kind of nervous as she's in the kitchen, or excuse me, in the office. She's got all these like papers stacked up on her desk, on her filing cabinet, and she's been going through them. She's got like, you got this old computer. It's got the classic like CRT monitor. It's not like flat screen and everything. And you can tell that she's got all of these documents. Now you are a very aware man, and you can see these stacks of papers are like receipts, tax returns, invoices, left and right. And you can see that she's like sweating. She's nervous. She's like, oh God, oh Luca, oh goodness, oh God, I didn't want to worry you. I didn't want to worry you, but oh goodness, this is very important. But could you please just make sure that me and the auditor are undisturbed? You can handle the restaurant for a couple hours, can't you?
Well, yeah. If you ever need me, just give me a call.
Okay, of course. You're such a good boy. And she goes to reach up to kind of like grab your cheeks and pat you, but she stops because you have this burn scar right on your cheek, and she like pauses and pulls it back, and you can see like kind of a sad look come over her. And then she waddles out, and she's getting up there, and so she's moving a little bit more slowly, and she sees the man like, oh yeah, are you Mrs. Dante? I am from the IRS. My name is Tom Polero. We're gonna we have the audit to go through. We have to. Do you have everything that I asked for in the email? And she's like, oh, of course I have it. I have right this way. Come on back. And she starts leading him back. And the last thing you hear as they disappear into the kitchen is Mr. Polero saying, it's a real significant amount of money that just showed up on your funds a couple years ago. It wasn't properly reported. And then like the door swings closed and somebody else comes up, and you now have to deal with this customer. So what pursuit are you doing now, Inferno? What are we rolling?
Yeah, this is fulfill responsibilities.
Okay.
So I'm focusing on my obligation and relationships. So this is with my pizzeria.
Okay, so you're gonna roll a sand test for this. So you're doing something the agent is doing at work or at home to support your bond. So you're supporting your family. Your whole family is your bond. Like, it's not just individual. Mm-hmm. So roll your sand test.
A sand of 30. I rolled a 50. Oh, wait, okay. 5. Never mind. That's a success.
You rolled a success. Okay, fantastic. So success improves the bond by 1d6. So go ahead and roll a 1d6.
A 2.
Okay, and so you increase your, like, this time that you've spent with your family. They have no idea that you are the reason that the restaurant is being audited. They have no idea that you're the reason that this restaurant and your parents could get into very serious trouble because of the sudden influx of money a few years ago that's now starting to ripple and show in their tax returns for the restaurant. But all they know is that their boy nearly died. He's back with the family. He's making pizza with them. And your family has grown closer as a result. But you can hear your mom kind of weeping and crying every now and then. And you can hear these muffled conversations between your parents as they talk about what they're going to do and what's going to happen. They might lose the restaurant. Your mom even says to your father, like, he was even talking about jail time. Who's going to put an old lady in jail? And things like that. But we'll fade out of that. And we're going to check in somewhere else entirely. Maitre, you've been sitting quietly and patiently for a while. It is 2014. It is late spring, early summer-ish sometime probably. We're going to check in with you. Who do we see and where do we see them? What the hell is going on?
I have to pull back from like almost crying for the last hour and a half.
Oh my gosh, right? Like all of the scenes are just sad and anxiety provoking.
The only reason I haven't been openly weeping is because my mascara today is not waterproof. So I have been making a design choice.
Folks,
but
I don't
anyway.
want to worry you, but it's going to get so much worse before it's over.
Oh my god.
It's deltagreen. That's what this is. This you guys aren't having fun?
No, I mean, this is
great.
absolutely
This is amazing. Yeah, this is so good. But anyway,
go ahead. Take it away.
It's camera zooms in on the scenery looks very different. It's the city of Boston, and it zooms in on a pan of a pretty busy looking mechanics shop, and there's two men, pretty fairly like burly and attractive men working on this like beautiful cherry red chopper, and off to the side there's these really worn looking couches and like a mini fridge, and on the couch there is this a guy that looks like a biker. Honestly, like there's no better way to describe him. Like he's got leathers on and he's got biker mustache, salt and pepper hair, and reaching into the mini fridge and pulling out is this Indian woman who's about 5'7", 5'8". She's maybe in her early 30s. She has long black hair and that's tied up and in a pretty basic ponytail. She's got this black Purple Rain t-shirt on, and she's wearing these old ass jeans that have like rips and grease marks and shit on it, and she's in the middle of a fairly intense but obviously like kind of friendly argument with this biker, and he is saying, no, listen, like you gotta have more all out, like that's the thing. And she's like, no, that's not even the point. The point is, if you're in the city, you have these engines that start and stop multiple times an hour, and you need something that can deal with that. And he kind of looks over at one of the mechanics from the Chopra who's walking over, wiping his hands and sort of smiling chagrin, and she's like, no, don't look at him, look at me, we're talking, you and me. And that is Davey, who works at the local Lockheed Martin office, and this is very clearly an argument she's had about engines before with this dude.
Now, is this mechanics garage? Like this is literally like Lockheed itself? Like we're like in one of their garages, or this is
Ignition Auto Body, her boyfriend's shop.
And which one of them was your boyfriend?
That was walking over.
Okay.
And looking at them with an amused smile.
I really wish I would have practiced Bostonian, but maybe like
His
they
name
talk
is
to us.
Liam, and
That makes it even worse. oh, hey there! What you doing? We'll all be fucked. No, something like that, right? No, I know. Okay. So is this like end of the day, early day? What are we thinking?
I think it's towards the end of the day.
Okay.
So like after her work day.
Okay. So like the auto place is probably getting ready to close as well because it's like a shop, like it's a business, and so they're probably closing down as well.
It's a business, yeah.
Okay. So maybe we see like the conversation, the argument kind of, it's a friendly one, of course, but it kind of goes back and forth. No real resolution at any point. But at a certain point, like Liam, maybe, you guys go out to dinner, or do you guys go back to a place? Do you live together? Do you live separately?
We live separately, and I think we are planning on just going to like, there's this really great taco truck that's nearby. He's gonna insist on taking his hearty fat boy, and she's gonna insist on taking her like vintage Electroglide. So they both like drive down together, and they are at this food truck essentially, and sitting at like a little picnic table getting some food.
And is the relation like, are you guys on, is it a healthy relationship? Like, are we in a good stage?
It's a pretty healthy relationship. It's fairly new, so they do have that like new couple energy.
Okay. At any point, would this date that you're on, would this ever go back to your place at all? Like, is yours nearest?
Absolutely. She actually the thing that she is mostly talking to him about right now is someone else. Like, the only real friend she has really is her ex-wife, a professor from MIT. And so she is kind of talking about like how she probably needs to talk to Janet about him at some point, because he's like the first serious relationship since their marriage ended a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Okay. So we'll say as conversation continues, tacos are eaten, beers are drank. It's friendly, it's flirtatious. Occasionally we see these bouts of seriousness, and we're going to fade out of there for now, but we are going to come back shortly. But I want to check in with Melissa, who has also been sitting patient for a while. And I would like Melissa to have an opportunity to tell us about the next character that she's going to get killed. So, Melissa, it's 2014. Springtime is maybe, it doesn't have to be. If you had something in mind for earlier, that's okay. We can shift back. Where do we see you? What do we see you doing?
So I've got a couple of kind of introductory scenes. So the first one is going to be in Albuquerque. So you see this woman is tall. She's got dyed blonde hair. She's currently wearing it sort of back in this sort of severe ponytail. Sometimes she wears it kind of in this severe kind of center part look. She does not appear kind of quick to smile. So in the first scene, you kind of hear a ding, and you see an elevator door open. She walks out of the elevator, looks to the left, and walks toward a nurse's station. She looks at the dry erase board next to the window, and it says, RN on duty, Jamie Rayner. So she kind of goes over to the window. Good morning, Nurse Rayner. I'm here to see my mother, Joy Dunham. And Andy reaches for a sign-in clipboard, looks at her watch, jots down her time in, time out, all of those things. And so kind of Jamie is, good morning, Miss Dunham. And it's a middle-aged man. He kind of looks away from his computer and kind of looks up at Andy Dunham, and kind of looks around to make sure that there aren't any kind of patients in earshot, and says, I hear your mother's been doing well with her recovery, but we are noticing more of those memory issues that we were talking about a few weeks ago. We do think that moving her to our memory care floor permanently would be best for her. And Andy kind of finishes writing out everything on the clipboard, and she must be thrilled about that. 13B, right? And Jamie kind of gets up and yeah, I'll walk you down there. So they kind of walk down into the room and kind of turn into 13B, and you see an older woman in, kind of a hospital style bed with, kind of the back part raised and the legs raised a bit, and you see this kind of big metal brace around her left knee. And Andy walks in and says, "Hi, Ma, how's the leg holding up?" And if you see from the bed, Joy's face kind of lights up a bit, like, "Oh, it's my aunt." And then she pauses for a second and she sort of looks straight over at Jamie and says, "Andy, it's been so long since you visited. I almost forgot what you looked like." And sort of gives this little scowl over in Jamie's direction, like she was proud of that little memory joke, and then kind of dismisses him a little bit. And so kind of the nurse looks at everything's okay and kind of walks out of the room. And Andy goes over, kind of gives her mom a quick kiss on the cheek. And Joy just says, "The knee's fine. It's getting better every day. But did they tell you that they want to keep me on the 3rd floor? I've lived on the 7th floor since your father passed. I like my neighbors. I don't want to move. Help me up. It's time for my exercises." And so Andy kind of helps her up, and I know you like the neighbors, but you're just going to be an elevator ride away, and I'll still come and see you. And as her mom's kind of getting up out of bed, and she's like, "But you're always so busy." And you kind of see them walking down the hall. So then the next scene is actually in Las Vegas. So again, kind of coming out of an elevator, hear the ding, walk out of an elevator, but this time it's an FBI office building. And so, this time Andy is smartly dressed, pantsuit and all that. She walks briskly down the hall, kind of knocks on a tall wooden door, kind of peeks into the little window that's right next to the door. And then through the door, you kind of hear a female voice answer the phone. "Special Agent in Charge Richards." And there's a phone conversation, and then when it's done, the door opens. And you see kind of her boss essentially kind of opens the door and, "Look who decided to grace us with her presence." And Andy's like, "We talked about this before I left." And her boss just kind of looks at her, "Your mom. These days you're like a college student. Like, how many aunts can die in one semester? How many knee replacements has your mom had?" "2, Mara. Just 2. That's how many knees people have. It's how many she's had replaced. She's getting old. I'm sorry that's an inconvenience for you. You know I have the best you've got here." And so they just kind of continue along in this. And so it's kind of the window of when something might happen.
So at a certain point, we'll say if you're at a field office in Vegas, you probably have a desk there that maybe you share, maybe you don't share, but you probably have a place and you probably get mail. And when you check your mail, you've been gone for a little while, you can see that there's a stack of stuff. Usual things. Some of it's in her office. Some of it's from other departments, other divisions, other agencies that might be sending things to you for this case or that case, that kind of stuff. But one thing catches your attention, and it is a FedEx. It is a FedEx envelope. It is It's your standard FedEx envelope, nothing special. But one thing that catches your attention is that for your name, when it's kind of targeting you, there's like an initial between your first and your last. And you see it's G. And you know that is inaccurate. And so maybe we see you go back to your office, tear open the envelope, and you pull out a single sheet of heavy stock. And we're going to fade out of there for now, and we'll come back. Because I want to check in. We're going to get there in a sec. We're going to check in with Weaver, because Weaver and Price still got home scenes to finish. So, next time we see Weaver, you have been going through these cosmetology classes, doing very well. Your workouts haven't really been panning out the way you want them to. You've been constantly having the specter physically in the real world of Declan G.W. Ellis, but then in your nightmares of agents past. What do you do for your last home scene here?
So, she's in the middle of one of her Narcotic Anonymous meetings. She's been going for, this entire year. So she's been doing, in the beginning, it was one meeting every week. She has since reduced how much she goes. She does do at least one meeting a month, just to maintain. And she's in the middle of this meeting, and she's doing the normal thing where she stands up and, "Hi, my name is Lisa Weaver. I have been sober for 6 months now, because she did have some sort of pain reliever when she was in the hospital or whatever it was, and that did cause a relapse in her sobriety. So she does count that against herself. And as she's standing up there, she starts getting a phone call. And she knows that phones aren't really allowed, but she has established she's a single mom. And she's like, "Hey, it's my daughter." And she steps out of the meeting. And she picks it up, and Jamie's on the other line. And she's like, "Hey, baby, how are you doing?" And Jamie's really short with her. "I'm fine." "Okay, well, mom's in her meeting. What do you need? Is everything okay? Like, are you fine?" "Yeah, I'm good." And she's got the normal attitude that she's had lately. And she's like, "Okay, well, why'd you call?" And Jamie kind of sighs, and she's like, "I don't want to live with you anymore." And this kind of causes Lisa's heart to kind of stop. And she gasped and, "Oh, what do you mean? You're never home. It's like you're not even my mom. And where we're at, this isn't even home anymore. I want to be back with Cody. I want to go back home." And Lisa's crying as, Jamie's calling her out on all of her shit. And she's like, I'll talk to Cody." And "You don't even have to. I already talked to Cody. Cody said he loves me and he wants me to come live with him." "Okay, well, mom still has to talk to him and we'll sort it out." And she's like, "No, I'm packing up my stuff. I called dad and I'm gonna go live with dad." Okay, my meeting's done in 35 minutes. We'll talk when I get home. Don't even bother. I don't want to talk to you, Mom. You never listen. You're never home. I'm tired of this, and I want to go back to my friends, and I want to go back home. And Jamie hangs up the phone. And Lisa's kind of standing there, and it's at an old high school when it's not in use where the meeting is at. So they're in the the gym. And so there's those double doors, and they've got the glass windows, and she just moved to stand out. So she's still within the glass windows, and she turns and she looks, and she sees the counselor person who runs the meeting. Her name's Stacy, and they make eye contact, and she can see that Lisa's sobbing. And so she quickly tells people to, take a quick water break. We have refreshments over to the side, and we'll meet back in 5. And then she hustles out to come talk to Lisa to kind of like see what's going on, make sure this isn't like some event that's going to push her off the edge again into perhaps relapse. And Lisa can't really talk. She just, I have to go home, and I have to go talk to my daughter. But the event that she's doing is establishing a new bond, which is her Narcotic Anonymous group, her NA.
Okay, excellent. Right. I thought we were doing going to therapy. Sorry. Okay, so establish a new bond. No, you're good.
Well,
you're good. No. This is totally fine.
I was waffling. I put either or.
Okay, so this means your character or group is developing into an essential, important part of your agent's life. You can attempt a charisma times 5.
Yes.
So let me know how that goes. Success is good in this case. I know sometimes it's fail. Crit fail. Okay.
Jesus.
Here's what's going to happen.
Actually, success is good in this case.
Here's what's going to happen. We see, what was the name of the Stacy. We see that scene. We see you guys in the hall. 2 you're talking. She's consoling you. Eventually, you leave. And we watch, like, camera-wise, we see Agent Weaver, we see Lisa walking down the hall. And there, Stacy is standing in the hall, kind of watching you go. You can see she's concerned. She's interested. And what Agent Weaver doesn't see is that on the linoleum floor of the hallway, we can see there is this sort of gush of liquid that just seems to be coursing across the tile. Because you were standing right next to the bathrooms. There's a small water fountain, bottle filler maybe, and we can see both women's, men's, and then sort of like a utility bathroom as well. And we can see that flooding out from underneath the doors, there is this dark, dirty, horrific water that just begins to swell up and swell up. And we see, from Stacy's perspective, we see like, her back when she's watching you kind of turn a corner and disappear and eventually leave. But what we see is that water kind of wraps up on her feet. She looks down, she kind of lifts a leg up and kind of is like, what? This is disgusting. And then we cut from there. You go to the next couple of sessions, Weaver. Maybe it's at this place, this high school, maybe it's not. But Stacy's not there. Stacy doesn't show up for the meetings. The new person who organizes, they make up this standard excuse. Oh, she's just I think she's busy. I'm not really sure exactly. She was supposed to do a meeting a couple days ago, but she didn't show up, and I got a call, frantic, so I came and covered, and then she hasn't really been responding to it. I mean, it happens sometimes, and so like this story starts to circulate, and Stacy just kind of like disappears off the face of the earth, and no one really knows exactly where she is. And since you don't really know her too well, like you don't really know her that well, she never really pops up again. And but it's that constant, like, just where did she go? At some point though, Weaver, as you go home into your now empty house, you can see that you see Jamie's not there. We watch you moving about your apartment or your house, whatever it is, and you check her room, and almost all of her stuff is gone. Maybe one thing or two things are here. Maybe a picture from like Long Island, Brooklyn, from the public library. You see a young, like 11-year-old Jamie. You see yourself. You see a cafe, and you see barely in the picture, because it probably you never really saw it before, because there were other things on her bulletin board maybe that were covering it. You see like the profile of a blonde woman. You see Agent Aggie, just part of her face. And as you're like sitting there looking, and you're like walking up to look at the photo and looking around at other things, you watch as Agent Aggie's in the photo, her head just kind of turns all of a sudden and looks at you. And it's at the exact moment that you hear a loud banging on the door. And you hear a voice, FedEx!
She'll snatch the picture off the wall and she'll take it with her as she goes to like open the door.
And you can see as you open the door, the delivery guy is already halfway away from your house back into their truck. And just there on your outdoor, mat is a FedEx envelope, standard size. And you can see there's your name, Lisa G. Young. We'll cut from there. We'll check in once more with Agent Price. Maybe it's springtime. Where are we?
Can I put it on the record that I don't appreciate going after Ashley every time? Like she sets the bar a lot higher than I can attain. But anyways,
are you trying to say that other people you are better than? You trying to say if you went after Maitre, you would completely overshadow her?
Okay.
Is that what you're trying to say? Did you hear what he just said about you, Maitre? I think he just said that.
Stephen? What the hell?
A dick, right?
I thought we were friends.
I specifically told him multiple times, don't be a dick, and yet here we are.
Anyways, you asked me a question. I'm going to focus on the first question rather than the second one.
Let's focus.
So Vin, during the last case, projected a lot of his sand loss onto his bonds that caused them to deteriorate in different ways. We've kind of shown how Chris, his son, that's been deteriorating poorly. His other bond was Edie, who he is now sort of semi-working with again in the CIA. And I think it makes sense because Vin is going to stay on the case. He is spending his nights and weekends poring over an old operations evidence. And the main reason he started taking consulting roles with the CIA again was simply access to their files, their resources that he can use on the side to try and pursue some of this information that he'd like to get on Frank Ryder, Ronnie Lightside, any sort of cases, things like that, that might have been the one that he was referring to about the sisters.
Okay, so stay on the case. It's going to reduce one bond, so you're going to do that. So you because you let your
reducing
more.
Edie.
Yeah. Okay. Then I secretly roll either criminology or occult for you. So you tell me, which do you prefer? Is there a preference?
It's going to be occult.
It's going to flavor the information that you might get, possibly, but
it's going against my stats, right?
Yep. You just what is your occult? Okay. What's 42. Your occult? Okay, here we go. Secretly. Okay.
What'd you get?
It's secret. Secretly rolls. I have secretly rolled it. Okay. All right. You get contacted at some point, and you're not sure exactly by whom. It starts off by kind of being a kind of stray email that comes. Maybe you're going in there and you're avoiding these emails from your son, or you're finally getting yourself to actually write them. But you get an email and you're like, it's like you're about to delete it when you kind of look at the subject line, and it just seems almost benign. It's like a book review, but it references a book that you would know. Penny's Boat. Frank Ryder. You open it up and you can see that there is this old publication from New York Times from like the early 90s or so when the book was published. And you can see that it is this long actual review of the book, and it's praised. Like it's actually the type of book that no one thought that Frank Ryder could write, because he had been a sci-fi guy or a spy thriller guy. And while there's still elements of thriller, it's very much more a kind of lit and he won awards for this. It was highly praised. There was even talk of they were going to adapt it into a movie. Someone bought the rights for it. And you start kind of tracking and following this for a bit. And at a certain point, you, in this sort of weird chain that you start to fall down, as you kind of go, you follow this click and that flick, you keep getting these emails. You have no idea who they're from, but they're constantly about his books. And you can see they're constantly about like these photos of him at like awards dinners. And you can see a very young Ronnie Lightside or Frank Ryder. You can see him with authors. Some you recognize, some maybe you don't. And then you read about a situation that you don't remember Ronnie ever talking about. It's a situation about him getting arrested and getting into a lot of trouble. And when I say him, it's not so much Ronnie Lightside, but it's Frank Ryder. You see these specific stories about well-known author Frank Ryder, suspected drug mule, suspected drug runner, and all these issues in the Southwest, Arizona, Vegas, the border, pushing these various drugs. And it doesn't look like he ever actually suffered from it. It doesn't look like charges were eventually dropped out of nowhere, but it does look like they were going to arraign him at a certain point. And they never really got any sort of satisfactory conclusion as to why they were dropped, what he was doing. And when you dig further into these old kind of early proto-internet forums from like the mid to late 90s, you start to see these like strange stories about who Frank Ryder really is. And all these like various fans who talk about all his knowledge of the science that he's looking at, the accuracy of the various spy thrillers, that he's more than he's really leading on. And you realize there's this massive underbelly, but it never really ever shows up on like any Wikipedia pages, never shows up on any other places that we would normally look. It's all this kind of like proto-internet forum stuff, and it's so hard to find, and you're just getting that constantly from some random Gmail address.
What's the email address?
The email address is _1628B.
All right.
Okay. At gmail.com, of course. Okay. So, let's see if there's anything else you get. I think that's it. No other things like that. At a certain point, though, while we're with you, Agent Price, you're going through, you're reading some new thread about like a theory about who Frank Ryder really is. And you can see these grainy photos of like a person. Is this Frank Ryder? And you can see he's carrying like this freaking assault rifle in his arms and everything. And he's moving through some kind of, what looks to be some kind of like urban area. You can't quite make it out. You hear a massive banging on your door, just like this heavy bang. And you hear FedEx.
I go check the door.
And you see on the ground, right on the mat, there's a FedEx envelope, standard size. It's addressed to Vincent G. Palmer. You open it up, and we cut. Agent Inferno. Last we saw of you, you were manning the front counter. We're gonna see Inferno now at home. Where is Inferno? Like, where does he live? Did he get back with his brother in an apartment, or is he by himself? Does he have his own apartment nearby the family? What are we at now?
I've rejoined my brother. We're roommates again.
Okay, so the two of you maybe he's excited to have you back. He's like, you guys are. He's talking about you guys. Maybe you're going out. And he's talking about how like you've been a changed man. Like I know you look ugly as fucking sin, but god damn it, you seem better. You just seem better for once. And I mean, Inferno, you haven't been on a case for a long time, right? Like, you've just been home with the family. You've been physically working on yourself. You've been mentally working on yourself. You've been working, like, this has been all these positive things. Is that fair?
Yeah, it feels good to be back. Maybe Dad was right. Maybe the pizzeria is where I belong.
Mom and Dad, they love that you're there. They're scared to high heaven about this IRS stuff, about this sum of money that kind of flowed through that no one could account for. But, anyhow, that's not what it's about. We're going to go out, gonna have some fun, have some drinks. It's my freaking birthday after all. Hey, by the way, sorry, you got a package earlier? I meant to tell you. It's right there. It's on the counter. And you look over and you see sitting on your kitchen counter next to a basket of partially rotting fruit, because it's two dudes in their 30s sharing an apartment, is a FedEx envelope.
Take a look at it.
You take a look at it and you see it is addressed to Luca G. Dante. Urgent.
Yeah, it says urgent, but they didn't even get my name right.
Okay. And so you put it back down. And I would like you to make a new character. Okay. Presumably, you guys go out, you get your drinks, you have your food. You come back, it's midnight or so by the time you return. It was his birthday, maybe. And you come back. He goes to bed, he stumbles in there. You've maybe had a few drinks. You got this dangle light coming down over top of the countertop. And the light's just shining on that envelope.
I'll take this moment to crack it open.
You hear your brother snoring from down the hall. You rip open the envelope. We cut to 8. We don't actually know her agent name yet. You say Davy? Is it Davy? I'm sorry, let me get the pronunciation right. Davy.
Yeah.
We see Davy. You come back from your taco excursion with Liam. Is he with you when you get home?
Yeah.
Two of you come in. You unlock the door, and you're gonna push the door open. You take a step, and you're expecting to feel like this little carpeted rug area where you maybe take shoes off or something, but instead you feel your shoe come down on something harder. You flip the light switch on and you look down and your shoe is on top of a FedEx envelope. You slide your foot to the side and you see your name. You see the initial G right in the middle, and you know what this is. He doesn't, but you do.
Oh, shit, Liam, I got this thing from work. I'm so sorry. Give me just 1 second. And fix
He's
up.
like, yeah. I got my boss. It's like, oh yeah, sure. I don't. That's not Boston. I'll figure it out. I'll go park the car. I fucking suck at Boston accent. I'll go park the car in the yard.
Just give her Eddie Walnut.
He's New York. Don't you dare. Okay. So he pushes past. He kind of goes. You hear the refrigerator open up. You hear us as he opens up a brew, maybe. And he kind of flops down. The TV comes on or something. And he kind of leaves you to it. And so you rip it open.
I do.
And so we see this Brady Bunch split screen. All 5 of you in your various locales, your various abodes, your various situations, ripping open this FedEx envelope. And there's one sheet of paper inside, which you slide out, and you realize that it is like hard stock. It's like glossy. I shouldn't say hard stock. I should say it's like flyer stock, so it's a little thicker than normal paper, and it's glossy. And I'm going to share it with you all right now. And I'll let Melissa, go ahead, if you could, describe what all of you are looking at.
All right, so pull it out, kind of expecting it to be expecting it to be kind of up and down, and then kind of realize it's got to turn it to the side. And so she turns it sideways. And on the left-hand side, it says, "Learn how to preserve your wealth. Join us for one of our financial and estate planning seminars." And on the left-hand side, you see this lovely smiling couple. Both of them have gray hair. The wife is kind of hugging the husband from behind. They're looking happily out a window, and there's some kind of coins at the bottom. And it says Saturday, June 7th, 10 to 12 p.m. And there's an address on Van Buren Street in Phoenix, Arizona. And at the bottom it says lunch is on us. No strings attached. The flyer is your invitation. And then in the upper right corner, just off to where the smiling couple is looking out the window, there's a small green triangle.
All of you know this is activation. You know that the address, you know the time. Some of you, I think Agent Carr, you're in the west, you're in the southwest, you're out of the Vegas office. This is a quick flight for you. Others,
yes.
We're in Boston, we're in New Jersey, we're in Florida, and we're in Virginia. We're East Coast. This is a much more considerable flight for you all to get out there. It is currently, as you're reading this, whether it's midday, whether it's night, whenever it is that you, but the earliest you would have gotten it would have been evening time, like 6, 7 o'clock. It is June 6th right now. This meeting is tomorrow morning.
I'll immediately flip online, see if there's like red night flights out.
And you do, and there are. You do find some. It's you probably have to make a connection from where you're at, especially at this late stage. We can probably flight you through Detroit or something like that. But you eventually can get effectively to the airport relatively early in the morning. Everybody, give me a luck test right now. And I'll call out in a sec what everyone gets. So, Inferno, pass or fail?
Failed. 54.
Okay. Agent Carr, pass or fail?
1 second, everything is loading. That is a 6. I passed 40 under 50.
Okay. 40? Okay. Weaver.
50. Pass.
Okay. 50
Just
on
barely.
50?
50
You literally
on
rolled a
50.
50 on a 50?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Price. Pass,
Fail, 67.
Okay. And then Chopra. Pass,
Sorry,
fail.
give me just 1 second. My thing didn't roll. Give me just a moment.
All right. Okay. It's just a
Sorry,
D100
sorry.
if you have dice in
Yeah.
front of you or something.
Oh, it rolled as Vincent Palmer. That's why
Okay.
I didn't see it.
That's
But
the worst
Chopra
outcome.
got a 41.
That's a pass. Okay. Okay. Now, we don't technically know your agent name yet, but
Yes.
we're going to go with that for
Sorry.
now. That's fine. No, it's all good. All right. So we cut from there and we see like this montage of the night of you all packing. Maybe some of you have some explaining to do, which maybe goes over well, maybe doesn't go over well. But nonetheless, we see all of you get these quick suitcases together, quick things together, and you head to your various airports. And we see you all kind of traveling, some of you window seats, some of you aisle seats, sleeping on the plane, not sleeping on the plane. And one by one, you all arrive. And we're going to start. The first person we see gets kind of walking through and out of the jetway, getting off her plane. We see Agent Weaver. We see Lisa Young. What does she look like? What is she wearing? What did she travel in?
She traveled in this like comfy pair of black slacks that she has and just like a nice blouse. Nothing. Normally she would be wearing like workout gear, but since she's heading straight to presumably the site for this meeting, she just kind of is wearing just some regular clothes.
Okay.
And she's got like a crossbody bag and then her laptop bag.
Okay, so you've got your laptop bag, you got your crossbody bag, and you're pushing through. And there's other people getting out. Some people are, you can tell their hair is all a mess left and right. Others are much like you and business focused, and they're ready to go.
Mhm.
It, nonetheless, like it's not the busiest time for Sky Harbor Airport, which is where you currently are. It's June, and when you were walking through the jetway and you came into the terminal, you could feel the heat just coming through, even at this early hour, just leaking through. It's probably It was probably 9 o'clock or so for you. You maybe have an hour to kill. And we see you moving through the terminal. And as you do, you walk past maybe some water fountains, some concessions and stuff like that. You kind of turn around here and you let like some folks go through. You see some workers kind of putting in new garbage bags. You see some of the various stores are still just opening and they're pulling their the gates up and such. One such is a Hudson Booksellers. And you watch as you walk past as the clerk is literally shuffling and moving this cardboard shelving unit that sometimes publishers will donate here and there or companies will donate, and you can see they're sliding it over. And as they move out of the way, you see a cardboard cutout, the face of Declan G.W. Ellis, a face you've become extremely familiar with, having gone to FAU for your classes. And you can see that there are a couple dozen books all set up on this display, as he has just released a new Storm Surge novel. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share with you what that book looks like. And you can go ahead and describe it.
Okay, she's definitely going to go up and purchase it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a black cover and it's got like this flame across this from like bottom right up to top left. And it says #1 New York Times bestselling author Ellis is on fire, Dennis Lehane. It is Inferno Unleashed. Heat rises, hope falls. Declan G.W. Ellis, a Storm Surge novel.
So when you kind of grab one to go buy it, and you pay an exorbitant price, more than you probably should, and you kind of flip over and you see the cover. It's a hard copy. It's a hardcover. You can see like the inside. There's an inside flap that's got his face on it, but you also notice that there's a blurb on the back, and the blurb reads, "Who is Blaze Turner? Is he a hero? A fugitive? A ghost? Why are rival gangs hell-bent on hunting him down? Why is Baltimore's criminal underworld willing to set the entire neighborhood on fire just to smoke him out? Blaze Turner doesn't know why he's become the prime target. While trapped in a tenement building downtown, he discovers an even greater threat, a darker, older threat, and one that bullets can't stop."
In reading that, like, I imagine she's got holding it and she just kind of accidentally lets the book drop because it kind of hits too close to home.
It lands, and you see as it lands, like the cover of the book kind of splays a bit, and the dust cover starts to get loose, and you realize there's also additional like author quotes and blurbs. And you can see like there's this very nice one. You can see that Kuntz once more is signing on his book, and it's like, "What has Blaze stumbled into? What horrors await him in the shadows?" Dean Kuntz, author of Watchers.
And she'll snatch the book back up and, tucks it in her laptop bag. And it's definitely something that she's going to dig into after this meeting.
The next person we see, maybe same terminal, maybe different airline, is we see Agent Carr. You see, is it Andy? Andy? How do you pronounce her first name?
So her agent. So what she'll go from here on out is Agent Olivia Carr.
Okay. We see Agent Carr come out of the jetway. How is she dressed? What does she look like?
So she is dressed, I would say she hasn't changed. So when we saw her in the FBI field office, she was in, kind of pantsuit, hair pulled back tight, in a ponytail. And that is still how she is dressed now. Similar to Agent Weaver, she has, what is clearly a shoulder bag that can hold a laptop in it, and she has a one of those hard cased roller bags that she's got for her carry-on, and she always walks with a purpose. Like, she knows exactly where she's going. In this case, she probably does, being like living in Vegas, traveling to Albuquerque, having had some ties, with the FBI. She has probably come in and out of Phoenix a lot of times before, so she is probably fairly familiar with these terminals.
You're probably well rested, as you have the shortest flight. It's a quick hour flight or so. And you might have done it early this morning. You might have gotten up at 5 or so and taken a flight and gotten here, whereas everybody else is basically doing red eyes. We see you walking with purpose past some of these stores, past some of these bathrooms. We see people coming and going. Maybe we catch like the faintest glimpse, like this passing glimpse of a man with a white jacket on sliding into a bathroom. We see like the kind of the black and white hair of Agent Price, who we don't yet know. As Carr, you just move past. Now you know the address where you need to go, and your travel through the terminal, no issues whatsoever. But you know where you need to go, and it's not that far from Sky Harbor Airport. Just a couple blocks. You can get there through rental car. You can get there through public transit. You can get there through shuttle. How do you go? What would Carr do?
I would say that Agent Carr would ride the bus out to the car rental station. Okay. And she would, she knows Phoenix, and you really kind of need your own vehicle. Public transit is not necessarily going to cover the sprawl that is the valley. So she's definitely going to go rent a car.
And so we see you get your car. We see you drive a couple blocks. We see you pull into a entirely nondescript business complex. There is no lettering. There is no advertising. There is nothing. And there are not even that many cars. There's very few. It looks actually nearly empty, save for like a handful. 3 stories, tan stucco walls, reflective windows. Maybe you park nearby, and it's like I said, about 3 stories high. You get out, kind of head towards the sort of the central entry area where you can see there's these outdoor staircases going up. And you see that there is a sandwich board folded right there as you kind of get to the nexus of where all those staircases are. And it has the exact same picture of the flyer that you currently have, and it's displayed right there. And it's a little bigger, obviously, and it's directing you with like this little arrow up to Suite G on the 2nd floor, and it gives you a place to go. Do you go?
Yeah, and so Agent Carr would kind of look around a little bit and just kind of see if there's anyone else getting out of their car.
Nothing.
Doesn't.
Quiet.
Then
no one moving. Bright early in the morning. It's somewhere in Arizona, so it gets bright super early. And
exactly.
So, and you're probably
so
here maybe half an hour early, we'll say.
Yeah. And in other weather, she might post up outside and keep an eye on the place. But it's already getting hot, and so
it's already like early low 90s or so. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's gonna go inside.
You go up to the door. You can see for Suite G, it's on the 2nd floor. You can see that tinted, reflective. Can't see inside, and it's completely unlabeled, except there is a toll-free number. 1-800-872-7000 for a leasing agency. We see you reach out. We see Agent Carr open the door, and then we cut and we see Agent Chopra getting off the terminal, or I should say, getting out of the jetway, walking through the terminal. What does she look like as she moves her way this early morning through Sky Harbor Airport?
Agent, and as Melissa said, now she'll be going by Agent Katrina Chopra. And she doesn't know Phoenix super well, but she does know the airport because Lockheed Skunkworks loves to do shit in deserts in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, so she's come through this airport like a bunch. So she had to make excuses to Liam, which did not go super well. But she also did not change. She just got on the first red eye she could get. So she's still in that like grungy Purple Rain t-shirt and old jeans. And the one addition that she seems to have taken off and just carrying is this like really worn leather jacket, because there was this brisk Bostonian night air, which she does not have to contend with here. But she's got this like bleary eye. She pulls aviators on and she kind of makes her way to the rental place like almost mechanically to get a car to go to the address.
Basically the same process as we saw with Agent Carr, almost the same spot on the sky rail, the sky train, as they move towards the rental car place. And then we see the same thing as Chopra, maybe 10 minutes behind. Pull into the parking lot of the same nondescript business complex. No signage anywhere, no businesses. It's not that there's not activity on the streets, on the roads. There's people coming and going. It's still early morning, so there's not a ton, but you are by the airport, so there's always going to be. You can also hear the sounds of traffic beginning to back up on the stack nearby. And we see the same thing. Eventually you get out of your car. There's a couple others, but not many. We see the same moment of you hitting the sandwich board, going upstairs, seeing on the door, no real imagery, just this sort of reflective surface. Would you go in, or would there be anything you do before you go in?
Absolutely. No, she puts her sunglasses on her head and walks in.
You go inside. You feel a cool brush of air as it just hits you, and you see bare gray carpeted floors. It's the type of carpet that feels like you're walking on tile. There's no cushion. You see that there is an aquarium off to your left, and you can hear the sounds of the machinery kind of bubbling here and there, but when you look at it, you realize there doesn't seem to be any fish inside, just a couple bits of decoration, but you see nothing really moving other than bubbles. There's a seating area to your right, and you see some cushion chairs, same basic color as the floor. You see a coffee table. You see there's a handful of entertainment magazines, like People and whatnot, fanned out. And you also see straight ahead, there is a reception desk. And behind it, there sits a kind of a middle-aged, in her 40s, African-American woman, short cropped hair, glasses on. She's wearing a business suit. She smiles this warm and friendly smile. She stands out of her chair, and she's like holding some papers in her hand. And she looks at you and she says, "Are you here for the wealth planning seminar?"
Yes, I am.
We cut from there. And next we see Agent Price, Vincent, coming out of the bathroom where we last saw him go into after getting off the plane, after seeing Agent Carr walk past him. Is Agent Price still wearing his titular white jacket?
He would definitely be holding it. It's Phoenix and it's too fucking hot to wear.
Sure.
So he's got a pastel shirt on. He's still got the white pants on, and then the white jacket over his arm. He's sweating a bit. He's got more hair than I do, though, so it hides it better. And he would be packed very light. He has a small duffel, like what you would take to a gym, and even then it's very loose. He's got a couple t-shirts and just a few odds and ends in there. His theory when he travels is he can buy it when he gets there. And then the only thing he would wait on for a checked bag would be his firearm.
Okay. So you take a little longer, but eventually it comes through. Everything's legit. Everything's legal. Everything's fine. And it's Arizona, so even if you didn't, you could probably find 100 of them just outside. And eventually we see you kind of go through the same process. Do you get your own rental car? Or do you just take a bus there, or do you get like a taxi there or something?
Vin would take a taxi. He'd go to where like the taxis are all lined up and just get in the first one.
It's 2014, so taxis still actually exist to some degree. And we see you get a yellow cab driven over. See the same thing. Nondescript. Business complex. None of this is probably particularly alarming to you. And honestly, to any of you, you're all veterans. Like, obviously, operation debriefings happen in a variety of ways, but this is the type of place where it could potentially happen. These kind of dead, constantly empty locales that it seems like no one ever works here. Why are these buildings here? And we see you get out of the taxi, we see the sandwich board, we see the directions up. Do you follow the same path that we've seen Carr and Chopra do?
I think so. I think he'd be straight to the point. He wouldn't want to mess around.
You see the same woman asks you the same question.
I think
you here for the wealth planning seminar?
As he goes up, he would already have an open energy drink, and in the same hand, he'd have a lit cigarette as well. He'd take a swig of it. Yep, that's what I'm here for.
And she says, excellent, follow me. And she steps out from behind this reception desk and over to a door, this interior door, which she opens, and she kind of holds it and looks back at you, kind of motion you with her. And you and her start moving through this office suite. And you notice your alertness is so absorbently high that it is a very, very empty suite. There's nothing here. There's offices. There's definitely office space. There's desks. There's filing cabinets. There's even a break room at one point. All of it's very sterile, though, unused. You don't see any people. This is the only person that you've seen actively moving about this place. She comes to a door, and she opens it up, wooden door, holds it for you, and lets you inside. When you peek through, maybe, you see the edge of a large conference table. And it's got these high-backed executive chairs, leather-backed. You can see just to the left, there is this long waist-high cabinet that is, it kind of extends across the entirety of the wall, and you can see there's buffet food on here. You can see there's just like morning breakfast stuff. There's like a big old thing of like someone picked up a thing of coffee that you can kind of sort of pour something out. You see stacks here and there, some breakfast food, some fruits, all that kind of stuff. And then on the far wall, you can see the whole wall is basically this massive window. Now it's tinted. You know that would probably be the window facing the parking lot that you came in, and you couldn't see inside when you were outside. And it's definitely tinted and it's not letting some of the light in, but it's a very bright room. And you hear voices from inside.
The breakfast area is inside as well?
It is inside, yeah.
Yeah. So he would drain what's left of his energy drink and head right towards the coffee.
We cut from there. We go back to the airport. We see Agent Inferno walking through the terminal. What does Agent Inferno look like as he steps off the jetway and into the terminal?
Got a nice buzz cut, a long sleeve shirt, plain jeans, light backpack. And I'm first stop is at the store, pick up a baseball cap and some sunglasses.
You stop at the store, and you see the same setup that Weaver sees. You see this display case, this display shelf with about 24 copies of Inferno Unleashed, Declan G.W. Ellis, and a cardboard cutout of Declan's head on the display next to all of the books.
I think to myself, good for him. He's out there. And I'll make my way to that taxi lane.
Okay. We see you go through the exact same process Price does. Go through the taxi lane. Eventually you get one. You don't have to go very far. It's a very quick ride. We see you get off in the same parking lot everybody else has, the same nondescript building. We see you see the same sandwich board, the same arrow. Everything is the same. Do you follow it all, or do you do anything off script?
I see no reason to, so I'll just go standard.
Okay. Woman greets you as you come in, holds a little stack of papers, escorts you down the hall, opens the door to a buffet of food. And she says, the seminar will be starting shortly, and gestures inside for you.
Thank you.
When you step inside, Agent Inferno, you see scattered about the room, perhaps either sitting or standing, I'll let everybody decide. You see Agent Price and Agent Weaver, who you immediately recognize. Maybe they look a little different. Maybe some of their wounds have healed. Maybe they've changed their hair a little bit like you have, but you recognize. You maybe see hung over the back of one of those executive chairs, the white blazer that Agent Price so frequently wears.
And
you
when I
two
first
other
see
people.
them, I'll get flashback images of when I first met them. So Vincent at my apartment, like imaging him at my door. Lisa, it's like an image back in Hypoluxo. Those images like flash forward into what I see, how I see them now.
And the first time you saw Agent Price, he was beating the shit out of your brother, who you just left
All he had to
after
do was
his
let me
birthday
in.
dinner. Yeah. I think everybody knows Vin was in the wrong. Okay. The door closes, and it's just the five of you. You can see there is this long executive table, glass top, but sturdy, heavy. And there's a handful of these executive chairs, enough for everybody to sit and have some space. So all of you arrive within a handful of minutes of each other. And all of you obviously know what this is. You're all veterans. Some of you have worked together. Are you saying anything? Are you doing anything as you wait for this seminar to begin?
When I see Luca come in, I would still be over by the food, just grazing, and I'd pour him a cup of coffee as he walks up. And I wouldn't actually say anything, but I would hold out the coffee for him.
Thanks, Vinny. Looking good.
And now that
Lisa's
the bug bites went down.
Lisa's sitting off kind of to the side by herself, and she's got like this little compact mirror out and concealer because she's got these heavy dark eyes, from her lack of sleep. And so as you come in, she's applying concealer on her under eye.
What about Carr or Chopra? Are you sitting down? Did you partake in the breakfast? Have you said anything to each other? You've been here all of 5, max 10 minutes. Everyone's arrived roughly around the same time.
I would say that Carr is definitely an observer type. So she went, she got some food, and she just sort of parked herself in the corner, kind of opposite from the door. And so that she is just watching everyone as they come in. And so she's making note of who recognizes each other, and is sort of noting that that the majority of the cell seems to have history. They seem to be exchanging looks, that they seem to be familiar with each other. And so she's just thinking through what those dynamics will be like as everyone comes in, and they're kind of what this cell is kind of comprised of. And so she's, if anyone makes eye contact with her, she would approach, handshake, but then she would kind of go back to kind of where she was in the corner. So she would definitely not be the first one sitting down, probably the last.
Chopra is absolutely getting a cup of coffee, and when there's kind of a lull in conversation, we'll have this like big smile. She's really used to working with people that she has never met before, so this is not unusual necessarily for her. So she has a big smile and is like, "Oh, hi everyone. I'm Katrina Chopra. So nice to meet all of you. I'm looking forward to working with you."
Likewise, call me Inferno.
Okay, Inferno.
I would just lift my coffee and say Vin.
Vin.
Snaps her compact shut, puts it back in her bag. Blair, nice to meet you.
Oh, good to meet you, dude. You know, have you tried cover effects? That's what I use on some of my bruises like that. That's pretty good. If you haven't tried it, it's pretty good. I have all these burn marks from stuff.
You know, I might have to try that because Lisa herself, she has. I forgot what I got hit with, but it left like a bit of a burn along her neck, like almost like it was like a rot kind of thing where she got caught by a spell, and so her skin from like her cheek kind of down her neck is a little bit mottled. So she does use some like filler makeup to try and like ease the skin down, but she hadn't thought about using that for her sleep deprivedness.
Inferno and Price, I know your alertnesses are very high, your searches are decent as well. Maybe Weaver, the book is on the table, maybe it's in your bag.
Yeah, she's holding it.
Give me a luck test for Weaver.
Okay.
So it's just 1 to 100.
94, fail.
Okay. All right. Nothing extra. The door opens and you see walking into this conference room is the same woman that greeted you as you came into this office building. Except as you see her, that smile is gone. And you can see that she's carrying two things. Tucked underneath one arm, she carries a leather valise, and the other, she's carrying a Grande Starbucks to-go cup. She's got no sign of a smile. She looks all business. She turns to you, all of you, and says, "I'm Agent Hall." And then she sits down as far away from all of you as she possibly can, and you can see she opens up the valise and starts pulling various papers and photos and other objects out of the valise. She doesn't wait to hear what your names are. She just starts unpacking. And then she looks up and she says, "1 week ago, May 31st, 5 Arizona State students went missing in the Mojave Desert near Kingman, Arizona. They were last seen by Park Ranger Sam Wilson at a well-known trailhead. Wilson noted that they were well provisioned, aware of the heat dangers, and they were all in good spirits. They planned an overnight stay, they were properly permitted, and at least one among the group, Michael Thompson, has ample outdoor experience." And she slides across the room these photos, and they're just headshots of like the 5 students. You can see one of them, African-American kid. You can see one looks to be an Hispanic young woman, and then it looks like there's like a couple like Caucasian-y looking folks. One dude's got like blonde hair and it looks like outdoor gears on. She continues, she does not stop. She sees as all of you are kind of taking and looking at the images and stuff like that. By the end of public hours for the park on June 1st, Ranger Wilson noted that one of the vehicles believed to have been driven by these students remained in the lot, permit expired. 2 days later, on June 2nd, the parents of Anne Delaney, and she holds up her own copy, and you can see a kind of distressed looking, kind of sad. She doesn't really have like a particularly happy face, but brunette hair. So she says, "The parents of Anne Delaney, one of the missing students, contacted Mojave County Sheriff's Office reporting a strange phone call from Anne's number. While the parents were unable to converse with their daughter, they believed her to be in distress," is what the father said. Now, Sheriff Tom Gus of the Mojave County, after contacting the families of the other missing students, including, and she holds up another picture, Congresswoman Victoria Karras. And so you can see like this picture now is like of a woman, and it looks like she's standing on top of a podium. There's like a lectern next to her. You can see her family is there, and it's her, and she's got her arm around one of the kids that is in the photos that you have around you. Congressman Victoria Karras of Arizona's 1st Congressional District officially declared the students missing. And she like looks and then continues. On June 3rd, coordinated by the Sheriff's Department of Mojave County and assisted by officers of the Wallapai Nation Police Department, search and rescue operations began in earnest in Wallapai Valley, the Grand Walsh Cliffs, the Music Mountains, the Wallapai Reservation, the northern reaches of the Peacock Mountains, and other locations within what locals periodically refer to as the Sighing Desert. Both air, she looks at Chopra when she says that, air and ground searches found no trace of the students. She waits a second, and she looks, and then she pulls from her valise another, looks like a photocopy of kind of a police report. I will go ahead and share what she shares with you, and then I'll kind of go over it for the crew, for the stream. On the morning of June 5th, Jeremy Benton, and she kind of passes out a copy of this police report, and you can see attached to that is a photo of Jeremy Benton, the young African-American kid, the guy. Jeremy Benton was found by a rescue team 40 miles east of Kingman, in the trailhead where all of the students were last seen. He was removed to Kingman Regional Medical Center for treatment. That night, deputies within the Mojave County Sheriff's Office questioned Benton, noting that his speech was slurred and unintelligible. He was suffering from apparently severe confusion and disorientation. However, the information he provided, according to the sheriff's deputy, was inactionable. Benton periodically muttered phrases as he was being interrogated, and also in his sleep. Invisible creatures, disappearing facility, and city in the desert. The medical report, summary attached, and she kind of motions into the direction of the report that you all are kind of circulating, notes severe hydration, sunburn, and minor cuts and bruises. His most significant physical injuries include claw marks on his wrist and shoulder. His middle, ring, and small fingers of his right hand have been severed. Medical examiner suggests they may have been bitten off. The deputies filed their report at midnight of June 5th, and by mid-morning of June 6th, program friendlies flagged and expedited this report. Later that afternoon, the program saw fit to activate a team. That team is you. She, at this point, kind of looks down at her watch. As of 90 minutes ago, no other survivors have been found, and Jeremy Benton has provided no additional testimony. You are headed to Kingman as FBI agents. And she pulls out of the leather valise, and she passes out to all of you FBI badges. Every single one of you gets one. You see them, it has your photo, or whatever it might be, they look as real as can be. Agent Carr, as a member of the FBI, it's pretty stunning how accurate this looks. But for the first time for you, you don't see your real name, but you see your agent name. And each one of you can see that your agent name is there. And so she says, you are headed to Kingman as FBI agents, officially to assist in supplementary investigation into the circumstances surrounding the disappearances of the remaining 4 Arizona State students, including the son of a U.S. congressman. Should verification of your identities be requested, refer to myself, FBI Special Agent in Charge Lyda Hall, as your supervisor. And you can see that she slides to each one of you a business card, which I will share with you now, that has her name on it, including what appears to be her contact information, 2 phone numbers, and an email address, and what looks like another address somewhere here in Phoenix. This looks to be the Phoenix field office. Now, Agent Carr, it's more than likely you maybe have heard passing thoughts, like passing stories about this, because you're out of Vegas, which is even closer to Kingman than Phoenix. So it's probably you've heard of this, but your office has specifically not been engaged yet with it. Okay. It is within the borders of Arizona, so it actually goes towards the Phoenix office. Okay, so use the contact information on that card as needed. Maintain your covers and be seen to assist the official investigation as necessary. She like looks around and she's like kind of like waiting confirmation from you all as you're kind of all picking up your various badges and putting them away. And then she clears her throat as she sees you all kind of nod or whatever. Your primary objective, however, is not to locate and rescue the missing hikers. You can see she starts digging out some more papers from the valise. And you can see when she drops them, they have an aged quality to them. Sepia tone. June 16th, 1970. Operation Quicksand. And she only has like the one copy, but she does pass it around. And so each one of you, one at a time, basically can kind of take a look at this particular handout. And it's an operational summary. Name, Quicksand, initiated date, 6 June 1970, closure date, 17 July 1970, team, cell, echo, supervisor, redacted. Objective, ascertain existence of M12 facility, primary, desert of size, redacted, 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 redacted. Outcome failed, all assets lost, redacted. And you see a very familiar logo in the upper right that you've seen on so many official deltagreen files. And obviously we don't use that phrase, we just say the program or whatever, but you recognize that official logo. It's a very old paper. You're not sure that this is the original, but even this copy is old. And as you're all looking at it, she expands. She tells you a little bit more. Team of agents was sent to Mojave Desert to investigate the disappearance of a 6-acre research facility constructed by Majestic at an unknown date, but believed to be sometime in the year 1968. The facility, along with its personnel, reportedly disappeared without a trace. By July 1970, Agent Alex Eckhart was found dead of exposure. Agent Vincent Snyder fell from a cliff to his death. Agents Stan Ballant and Jim Stiles were never found. Records and confirmation of the facility remain elusive. August 2011. She's just moving through this fast. The program is alerted to teams associated with March Technologies and Breckenridge Corporation surveying the areas around Kingman for site development. It is believed that among Majestic projects purchased inherited by March Technologies, records about the 1970 facility and failed Operation Quicksand exist. Program assets were tasked with running bureaucratic interference, delaying construction of the March Technologies site. However, she reaches into the valise once more, and she pulls out 3 photos. And she slides them into the middle of the table. They're all kind of stacked atop one another, and they're all labeled. The first one you see on the top of the stack, Photo A, May 29th, 2014. A little more than a week ago. And you guys see an empty desert. Rock, some brush, nothing. It's clearly a satellite photo. It's not anything close. Agent Chopra, you probably have seen similar things like this often in your job, but it's satellite, even higher than where you normally fly. Photo B. And she slides the first photo off the top of the stack so you all can see the second. Photo B is from June 3rd, 2014, earlier this week. And when you look, you realize it's the same desert, but it is not empty. There is a sprawling 6-acre research facility that seems to be hidden and blended away in the rock and sand. She licks a thumb, she reaches down, she presses it on Photo B, and she slides it so you can now see Photo C. June 6th, 2014. Yesterday. When you look, you can see it is almost identical to Photo A. It is empty desert. There is no facility. As you guys are looking, she walks back to her seat. She sits back down. She says, "Your primary objective is to determine the existence of this disappearing facility, ascertain if its function, as Quicksand believed, involves the manipulation of unnatural elements, and if so, cease such endeavors by all appropriate measures." And you can see she starts packing up her valise at this point, and she turns to all of you. "Welcome to Operation Windblown. Good luck, agents." And she gets up and she leaves. And that's where we're going to go ahead and stop for tonight. And we will pick up there in a couple weeks.
But Jeff, I'm ready to gag. Let's keep going.
I know you want to keep gagging.
Really?
So, oh my gosh. So
Gag me
ready.
harder.
Holy
We have to stop now because we have to do the after show. Gag reflex. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. How's everyone feeling? We like it? Good start?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
fucking amped for this one. You have no idea. I'm so
Oh
excited.
my god.
I'm so excited.
Okay. You've been dropping the handouts and stuff in the chat?
Yeah. They're on the Discord.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Oh my
I was very
gosh.
proud
Join
of
the
them.
Discord.
Though I did notice a typo in one of them as I was putting them up. I'm like, I always see typos right as I go to put them up. God dang it. I think
Oh.
Melissa caught it when she was reading it too.
whatever.
It's all good. It's all fine. Anyhow.
So cool. And we had all of the like just heart-wrenching, tear-jerking home scenes.
Mhm.
And now this
Yep.
super exciting new operation.
Yeah.
Just
I'm
wait.
so psyched about M12's involvement. Like, I freaking love Majestic M12. Like, that is
Mhm.
just such great world building.
You guys would know, but players might have forgotten, but you as agents would know. Those of you who went to Silo, March
Breckenridge?
Technologies was in Breckenridge, both of them. March Technologies, they were the
Motherfuckers.
one who were operating. Dr. Horowitz was the one operating the Bowman radar station, and Breckenridge
Yeah.
was providing security for the station. You got into a firefight with Breckenridge in the woods near an abandoned church. You killed several of their agents, torched their car, set them on fire within an old rundown church somewhere in the middle of rural North Carolina.
Don't forget, I was taken captive, and the group decided to
Yes.
save a scientist instead
Yes.
of me.
I remember that very, very much. I remember that so well.
I
I don't-
also
I don't
remember that. And I
Agent
will
Carr doesn't
never
remember
forget
that
it.
at all. Agent Carr has no memory of that.
You're fine. You're here. Everything's fine. What's the problem? Everyone's happy. You weren't Manchurian candidate conditioned or anything like that. Everything's fine. Where were you? How many people here in this party have seen Manchurian Candidate, the original with Frankie Sinatra? Okay, good.
Just the Denzel one.
I wrote a very lengthy paper on that movie when I was an undergrad at the University of Florida.
Did you really?
It was like a 14-page
wild.
paper. Yeah, it was pretty nuts. Yeah, I was taking a film class. Okay, so that's it for now. We're gonna jump back into this in a couple weeks. I'm very
Yay.
excited to get started, and I'm very excited to see what our new agents can do. But before we worry about that, before we get off for tonight, let's go ahead and do some closing plugs. So, Steven, let's hear what Maitre has to say about what she does on the internet. Go ahead, Maitre.
God, I miss that. I miss all you. I multi-plays games on YouTube where I make system agnostic content. But that centers the June placements that you should check out if you want to check out.
Fantastic. Link is in the chat or in the description if you're listening or watching this later. Okay, Steven, what you got going on, man?
Yeah, I got a lot going on, and my content is not system agnostic, as I am developing my own tabletop RPG system. It's called Huckleberry. It's a Weird West system. It's a lot of fun, if I do say so myself. Everyone here's played it. Well, don't shake your head. That hurts. I'm going to remember that as well now. No, it's a lot of fun, and if you'd like to play, you can join our Discord, because not only do you get to see all the handouts on the Discord, but I run playtests on the Discord. If you feel like playing a Weird Western, I will run a game for you. So there's really no reason not to join in and hang out with us.
Fantastic. As for the rest of the stuff that we're going to be doing, tomorrow is our next game. You can see this exact same crew playing in a different D100 system from which deltagreen, I think, was born. Call of Cthulhu, as we are back to our Eternalized campaign tomorrow in Mexico City, where we get to meet and converse more with Steven's niece and cousin, sort. I can't remember the exact whole timeline. And we get to see if Melissa survived her gunshot. Monday,
Oh yeah.
Alien.
Fuck. Oh
I
god.
played Alien a while. So we're back to Alien. Very excited. You can see me, Melissa, Maitre, and that. Tuesday, Steven hops back into the GM seat playing some Frontier Scum. Thursday is normally Simbaroom, but we're off next week. But you can catch all the Simbaroom episodes over on YouTube. And then next Friday, we're going to be doing some more Warhammer 40k Wrath and Glory. And speaking of Warhammer 40k and Wrath and Glory, we have a giveaway going on right now. It's another good reason to join our Discord. If you join it, you go into the giveaways channel and you drop a little comment about Warhammer 40k, your favorite faction, your favorite game. And if you're a person who's read the books, maybe a favorite character, you get entered into a contest to win a physical copy of Redacted Records 2, which is one of the supplements for Wrath and Glory, the game that Aaron has so kindly been running us through for the last few months. So another one of many reasons to come hang out with us on Discord. With that all said, it's time for us to move on. We're going to go ahead and we are going to raid our good friends over at the Finish of Kobold. I think they're playing Pathfinder. Oh my God, Chuck's feet are on the screen. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to raid that. Have a great rest of your night. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.
See ya.